Hey everyone, Don Hooten here with the Taylor Hooten Foundation, and I wanted to bring you an exciting update from a really good friend of mine, Eric Feinberg. Eric, thanks for joining us here for this short update video. Eric is the founder of the Global Intellectual Property Enforcement Center, which is GIPEC, and he's also the vice president for content moderation for the Coalition for Safer Web. And I had a chance to meet Eric a couple of years ago. And back in September of 2019, we worked with Eric and the Digital Citizens Alliance. We all put out a report titled Digital Platform on Steroids, where drugs were bought on some of these social media platforms. They were actually delivered to the offices there of Digital Citizens Alliance. And then we did another update on sort of what you're finding, Eric, on the internet on the All Me podcast that we released in January of 2020. And it's titled Illegal Drugs Being Sold on the Internet. And basically what I'll do is I'll put a link to all this in the show notes, Eric, so they can kind of keep up. But for years, this has been an ongoing problem on the internet and some of our favorite social media platforms. And you've even seen at our gala, we've talked about it. And when we talk about this in big groups of especially adults, they're just like, wow, I can't believe this is going on. So I wanted to, again, thank you for your time, but really appreciate any updates you have. But really the first question, Eric, I have for you that everybody asks after we give them this information is, Eric, how is this behavior legal, or is it even legal?
Hey, Don, first of all, thanks for having me on, and congratulations on the birth of your son, Ace.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about legal. Let's call it like it is. The sale of any drug requires a prescription is not legal. Let's start there. Now, the question, there's two things that are going on here, and why we need to continue to have kind of segments like this, and especially where we've evolved since, where you started in 2013, when you and I got together in 2018, 2019, and where we are today. And let's thank some of this to the Facebook whistleblower.
Yeah.
Haugen, who exposed this. And now, because of what's happened, there seems to be some pent up demand that was there for Congress to finally get around these issues. And one of the things that, again, you talk about illegality is Section 230.
Okay. Let's do a quick refresher on Section 230. So what is it, and how is this specific, I guess, portion of law, if you will, which is the Communications Decency Act, Section 230. Why are companies not being held liable when they're selling these drugs on these platforms?
Well, it's an old law from 1996. Let's look where the web internet was in 1996. Basically, you had AOL, Netscape, Internet Explorer. Yeah. And at that time, in order to perpetuate the growth of the internet and web-based things, Congress carved out a law that said, because it was new and different, that you as the internet service provider, ISP, cannot be sued, and you're not responsible for content on your platform as long as you take it down. And that's the key word too, as long as you take action on it. And again, this is from 1996.
Yeah, and as you know, a lot of things have changed since 1996. Heck, right, in the palm of our hands, our cell phone. I mean, we have access to a ton of data instantly. So I want to specifically talk about anabolic steroids and human growth hormone. Is here at the Taylor Hooten Foundation, that's part of our mission, which is to enlighten the world to the truths about appearance and performance enhancing substances. Which platforms are you seeing these anabolic steroids and growth hormone being sold on?
All of them. Facebook, YouTube, and then Telegram, and now TikTok. And the way TikTok's actually doing it, and understand how TikTok works, it's a video-oriented platform. So literally you have, people doing it, showing like before and after photos, and almost like tutorials of how-to guides on what to do, that combining the use of anabolic steroids, and then this vanity of showing what happens over time. Look at me as I'm working out. Yeah. And that's where the danger comes of it, is not just, selling the steroids, but actually, showing and manipulating young people to take these drugs, because it's all about body imaging. That's the whole thing too that's happened now. And when you look at a platform like, TikTok and some of this on Instagram, you get into where you have this body shaming.
Yeah.
And, if you take, and again, vanity and, the narcissism of it. So that's where it's kind of evolved over the last few years as these video sharing platforms have evolved, show us the use of it, especially when they say, hey, bulk up, take these steroids and you can be beautiful.
Yeah. And I know, and we went into this in great detail in our report, but when it comes to TikTok, like many of the other social platforms, are you finding sort of the same thing as we did with Adam and Tom at Digital Citizens Alliance that we found back in 2019? So they have this video and they're obviously talking about their body image and that sort of thing, where, you would typically see that in a gym setting, and you still do. And that's really, Eric, where the term kind of comes from. I think that Adam had always talked about is, and Tom even said at our gala, the drug dealer essentially has left the street and has now entered the homes, the four walls where we feel we're most safe and our kids are most safe. But so let's say my young person is on their phone, they're looking at TikTok, they're seeing these videos. How would they start interacting with one of these dealers that are selling these drugs online?
Well, they put the links right in the TikTok video, or the pages themselves on the profile part of it has the link to take you to the website. So basically they put the link that, they get you inside, they bring you in, they kind of say, hey, look what I've done. Look how beautiful I look. You can look beautiful too, work out. And here's the link, to buy, the steroids, HGH, testosterone, geotropin, humatrope, or any of these performance enhancing or body changing imaging drugs.
So, and you're actually seeing, and we've seen this too, but ads, actually paid for ads by some of these individuals and companies that are manufacturing and selling these drugs. Because I'll never forget when you and I first started talking, what was kind of interesting was shortly thereafter, Eric, we had run a paid for ad for our gala, which is our largest fundraiser of the year. It's actually the one you had attended. And I took a screenshot, or maybe you had taken a screenshot and you'd sent it to me. Well, in the news feed there was our ad for our gala, which we're a nonprofit organization. We're out there trying to impact young lives and educate people. And just to the right, you're seeing paid for ads that are selling anabolic steroids, which I know you and the team had purchased these drugs, and they were pretty legitimate drugs that ended up coming in. But the ease of purchase, I mean, how are these things being cleaned up? I know through your work and everything that you're doing, your expertise, you're letting these companies know that this is going on their platforms. What's happening over there, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or the others, to try to remove this stuff, this garbage really, from these social media platforms?
Not much, because what you're doing is, and what you just explained, is what's called algorithmic amplification. And the way this works, and what is how your news feed works. What you see through your news feed and what ads are served up to you are based on what you prefer, like, and engage with. And because of our research and what we've done for these papers, of course, we and Digital Citizens Alliance have engaged with, these sellers of pages selling illegal steroids, illegal peptides, HGH, homotrope, sumatrope, all that. And so what happens is, as we engage with it, the algorithm's not knowing we're doing this for research. So the algorithm's thinking about it. Hey, it says Eric, Tom, Don like steroids. Let's start putting them in front of them. And that's what we've been talking about, is the algorithmic amplification. Now, to go after that and really fix that, you'd have to go after the whole business model of these platforms, because that's what their business model is about, selling data. And especially when it comes to the advertising is put in front of you based on your preferences and what you like. So it's two things going on here. What they haven't fixed and what they haven't figured out is the algorithm, which is meant to be a part of a business model for profit, is also the same model that is putting nefarious, toxic content in front of you. So it's two separate, algorithms that the same, but they're kind of meshing together because everybody has one news feed.
So basically, I mean, these companies, essentially, the ads are now searching our kids out with these legal drugs.
Yeah, of course, especially what, it is, if you show preferences or what you do, and that's the danger here. And in fact, next week, or December 2nd, after Thanksgiving, there's a hearing in Congress through the Energy and Commerce Commission on dangerous AIs. What they want to do is carve out of Section 230. Part of it, it says, okay, if you participate and your algorithms are putting this toxic content, in front of, people, especially young people, well, we're not going to allow that carve out in Section 230 because it's your, what I always refer to in the old days, basically, it was just the paper put on the bulletin board. The algorithm really is the paper, tack, and the pen going on the bulletin board. And that's what the algorithm is. So I think the timeliness of this segment we're doing is good because the House, and I'll send you the link if you want.
Yeah, please.
They're going to have this energy hearing on December 2nd on this, which we have at the Coalition for Safer Web. President Mark Ginsburg has, sent them a lot of this stuff. So I'm not sure if we're speaking, but at least they have a lot of our research at the committee to review. And some of the Congress people on the committee might be using some of this when they ask the platforms about this.
Yeah, if you can send me that link, and what I'll do is, we're going to have this out on all our social media sites. We'll be sure to include these links.
I'll send it. Just the press release just went out last night on.
Outstanding. Now, that would be great. But is it safe to say Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, all the others are making money from these ads that are selling illegal drugs? There's got to be some revenue for them,
let's be honest. Let's say what it is. They're not ads. They're the pagers that are up on this. So it's not ads for, say, there's one called Spartan Pharmaceutical or, Geotropin of Great Britain. These are pages that go in there. So they're not making money from that. But what I think they are making money on, and this is interesting, if you look at a backdoor strategy here, their whole thing is about selling data, right? That's what we are. The data is the product. So what I think why they keep this up, and another way of looking at it is they have all this data of people engaging with pages selling illegal pharmaceuticals. Well, I think they use that data to sell it back to the legitimate manufacturers of the pharmaceutical based on people's preferences like it. And then you get the ads for the legitimate pharmaceuticals, Pfizer, Lilly, AstraZeneca in your newsfeed because it shows that you have an interest in the illegal seller as opposed to the legitimate seller. That's where I think they're making the money is on the data.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm sure it's millions of dollars,
that these companies are generating. But they know, as far as they're concerned, because they don't know I'm doing this for research, they think through my accounts that I have an interest in illegal drugs because with the research I'm doing, in order to do this, I look at it. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, I think I've got an interest in illegal drugs because that's what we put and so they're probably selling that data. When I look at my newsfeed a lot of times, I do get ads for pharmaceutical companies to my newsfeed.
And it's interesting. I've tried it too, where I've searched for anabolic steroids and human growth hormone. The next thing you know, boom, my feed is flooded with it. But I want to talk with you, as an expert and somebody that's seeing this every day as a solution. And one of the things I wanted to pose to you is, let's say a company like a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they reached out to you and they said, Eric, we need to bring you in as, to help clean this stuff up. Where would you start and what could be done? Let's start on the inside out first. And then what I'd like to ask you next, and that's going to be perfect for our next discussion, is for those that are listening, parents that are out there, adult influencers, what can they do? So let's start first. You're hired by one of these companies. What would you start by doing?
Well, first you'd start out what I call anticipatory intelligence. There's tells, there's signals that are already there. What's a signal? You cannot buy an illegal drug or a pharmaceutical drug without a prescription. So right there is very simple, okay? When you see steroids, opioids, fentanyl for sale, and no RX needed, you complete the transaction to WhatsApp, Telegram, email. That alone is a red signal. So you could go through and look at all this, right? And look at the design of the pages. There's a thing known as everything's created. It's called this is how it is. It's all zeros and ones. It's code. And within the code, it's called HTML. You see this, hypertext markup line. So within the construction of these pages you see, when you actually see the contact information, how to complete the transaction, you immediately could go through immediately and take out accounts that way who have that kind of contact information. Next, the other thing I would use, you have pages that literally are called geotropin homotrope, which is a brand of Pfizer and Lilly selling human growth hormone. Right there, you don't have Eric or Don or the Taylor Hooton Foundation. That alone could disqualify accounts or before they even get posted. And what we're talking about, what I call anticipatory, if you can then anticipate on how these sellers use these platforms and know their tells, you can literally queue line these things and put them for review before they get posted, because they've already given you signals that are anomalies as opposed to the sale of legal pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. Interesting. And, you know, the other thing you would think is these big pharmaceutical companies would have an interest if somebody's trying to knock off their product or sell a generic product or try to sell a product under their name. You would think, I mean, these guys would be willing to put their biggest legal defense up saying, hey, you know, we've got to put a stop to this, just like a shoe company wouldn't want somebody knocking their shoes off and selling a generic brand.
Yeah, but you bring it up because of Section 230.
That's
again,
right. So it goes back to, okay.
So it comes back to the same thing. And
Okay.
A lot of these sellers, okay, here's the interesting you find with the seller. Here's another way to kick it out. And we've seen this on numerous, you know, sellers of illegal drugs, steroids, and also the report we just did with the DCA on the COVID cards. A lot of times you see the $ to the right of the number. So it's not $200, it's $200, which goes that you're seeing this. It's probably coming from Europe, which would be tough to do because these sellers are as a big group of out of the Balkans who sell these steroid products. It's called the Balkan Mafia on this. So who are you going to go after? So because of 230, the platforms can't be sued. So the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, Lilly, AstraZeneca, you know, there's nowhere to go with this. Now, if you take away 230 and they're responsible, yes.
Bingo. So if you're talking directly to those that are watching this video that want to do something, what is your recommendation that they can do?
Well, first of all, I really think you should have a conversation with your kids and really discuss what they're doing, especially when it comes now to the use of TikTok, Instagram, the videos, what they're looking at, what they're engaging with, and start noticing too, their behavior in the real world and what they're doing in the online world, just that. Secondly, I think it comes down to what we talked about. Congressmen and senators work for the people. So I think it's time for what you should be doing is reaching out to your congressmen and senators enough already and take away this Section 230 immunity. And if that immunity is taken away, you will see the platforms having that clean up, be more amenable to technologies, that like myself and others have to clean this stuff up. Yeah. But again, it's got to start, by doing this more and more people. It's going on as we speak right now. And it's been going on for years. You have these hearings and what comes of it. But now, especially, since the revelation of the Facebook whistleblower a few weeks ago, they had TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, I think, in front of Congress on this to discuss, what they were doing too. And, kind of again, I always use the term, these platforms kind of gaslight Congress. Yeah. It's time for people to really engage with the congressmen and senators and cut this out. Enough already.
No, and Eric, that's great advice. I know people take that. And what I want to do is have more of these types of updates with you, because a lot of people feel, again, when they think a drug deal, they think, well, this might be going on after school in a dark alley, or they're meeting somebody behind the grocery store. And parents need to understand out there, and those that are adult influencers, that now the ease of purchase of these drugs and the access to information is really in the palm of their hands. So it's instantaneous, it's real, it's going on. And I know you're paying attention to this. I know you're doing everything you can in your power to get this information out, especially at the federal government level. You've put together some great advice, and I just would like to thank you again for everything that you're doing, and also make sure that we're providing updates quarterly throughout the year so that people can tune in and know really from the inside, Eric, what's going on.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing, and I think, one of the things I also say where it's at, and it's another thing we need to monitor here, and these are some of the studies going on social media. I think there's a mental health factor to this too.
There is.
And I think more needs to be, you asked me what, to be too, we have to realize why people search these things out, and especially why someone, takes steroids and what they can do. But obviously, if they're looking to change and they're not satisfied with things that are going on, or searching things out, like, when they look at body shaming, they're trying to change their body and taking steroids, it has to do, so there needs to be better monitoring and understanding too. And there's studies going on, the role that social media is playing, these platforms, on people's mental health, especially young people's mental health.
I can't agree more, Eric. There's so much work we need to do. And, I appreciate your time. Thank you for everything that you're doing and providing this information. We're going to take all the information you continue to give us and provide it to all of the schools that we're delivering our Almy Assembly programs in. So if you guys have questions for Eric, I'll put all of his website information and contact information in the notes, as well as, more information of our education programs. I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. And Eric, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.